Hey folks, I thought this afternoon I would share with you the wringing out sequence. We do it quite a lot in class. It's a series of reclining twists where you start from your hips and you work your way all the way up to the shoulders, and it feels really good at the end. So whatever state you're in when you start, usually by the end of it you feel pretty good. If you are pregnant, I would probably leave this one out, do something different, but otherwise, most people are fine as long as you can lie on the ground and as long as you are willing to miss out anything that doesn't work for you. If you have any issues with your spine, any instability in the lower back, anything like that, then you always prioritize instructions from your physio and never do anything that hurts. Some people like to have a cushion under their head for this because it's a bit more restful. Some people do it with a blanket over them because it's warmer. Some folks might like to have some cushions or a bolster to put underneath knees if you find that actually there's quite a lot of tightness or your knees just don't reach the ground, and that's a problem. Some people don't mind the knees floating off the ground so much. So we're just going to work through, follow the instructions, and hopefully by the end of it you should feel really good. It's a short sequence, shortish sequence. As far as anything I ever do is short. So what we're going to do is have a lie down. So keep my cushion. I might get rid of it if I get bored of having a cushion under my head. I'll lie down. First of all, make sure that you are comfortable. Need to have your head, whether you're on a cushion or not, so that the top of the crown of the head is lengthened towards the wall behind you, shins drawing inwards and upwards. Spine really nice and long. Do recommend picking up the hips a little bit, rolling the tailbone under, and then putting the hips back down. So your lower back just feels a little closer to the ground. And we are going to take the arms out wide in a T shape. And with this series, if you find a particular twist that really works for you, or you like to hold the position, then just go ahead and do it. Stick with the ones that work, spend longer on them, because we all have tightness in different parts of the body. Just make sure you feel really nice, really comfortable, long spine, upper body is really relaxed. I'm going to walk the feet down the mat quite a long way, and then at least as wide as a mat. You can go wider if you want. We're going to start with wipers. So this is more about lower back and hips. So take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, let's lower the knees over to the right. Don't try and force them to the ground, but do let your hips and lower back roll. Inhale to center and exhale to roll to the left. So start out working with the breath. Sometimes, if my hips are feeling really tight or my lower back is feeling really tight, I will allow the breath to be really long and slow, but let the knees move a little bit more quickly, more of a sort of a little tick-tock rather than all the way over to the side. It just depends on how you're feeling on the day. Sometimes you have to ease into this bigger movement. So just moving from side to side. So anytime you feel like one of the twists is not working for you, this one is a good variation for most people. You can also do it seated. So we'll have one more over to the left, or when you finish on the left. And the next time you get over to the right, just leave them there for a bit. So before you do anything else, just check that your shoulders are both on the ground or at least on their way down there. If you want to, you can turn your head in the opposite direction to the knees at any time. I tend not to do that. It's not my cup of tea, but some people love it. Scan down from your waist and just check for muscles that are switched on that perhaps don't need to be. Usually it's the thighs. People keep their quads switched on, or they don't do it on purpose, they just stay switched on, and you can allow them to relax and you'll find your knees soften down. And just really breathe, see how it all feels. And close your eyes and just rest here. If you feel you've got more distance to travel, you want more sensation, a deeper stretch, you can pick up your right foot and see if it will rest on top of your left thigh. And that's going to bring more of a nice deep sensation into your left hip and the base, your left interior oblique, so just the base of the waist around the back. And you can just breathe there. Some people absolutely love this. For some people it doesn't happen, so don't do it if it's wrong. You can put your foot back down on the floor underneath. Just as many breaths as you need. And normally in the context of a class it would be 3 to 5 breaths depending on the kind of class we're doing. And when you're ready, you can untangle yourself and raise the knees back to center. And in between turning any twist in the opposite direction, just check your spine is squared up again. So you don't want to twist in 2 directions at the same time. Exhale, take the knees over to the left. If you liked it on the other side, you can automatically put your left foot over onto your right thigh. It won't necessarily feel the same on this side. So remember, you can do different variations on different sides depending on how it feels. You don't have to work symmetrically. You treat the 2 sides of the body, the left and the right, as different things. Most people have one side that feels tighter than the other. Just resting. So we'll say when you do sequences like this, it's a good idea to be as warm as you can, put on as many layers as you need. As I say, you can have blankets. Just keep breathing, nice long breaths, scan through the body, look for any muscles that are switched on that you can switch off, all the way from the soles of the feet right the way to the top of the head. People often tense up their faces when they do these held twists. It's not intentional, it just happens by accident. Concentration. And then when you're ready, gently untangle the bottom foot if you've put it up, and then bring the knees back to center. And if you ever need a rock and roll, knees to chest, in between each set, absolutely fine, go for it. Leave things out, you can rest, you can stop at the end of any twist that makes sense for you if you feel you're done. We're going to go into the classical yogic twist. So knees are closer together. So this one, if you're going to adjust it, you adjust it once your knees have gone over. So arms stay wide as before. Feet are together, knees are together, closer to the body this time. And on an exhale, you're going to roll the knees over to the right. So it's a much tighter twist. Your knees may not touch the ground. Some people's are separated. So if they're separated, you could put a cushion between the knees, or you could loosen up the legs so that you feel more relaxed. So some people don't mind if the knees are floating. It's really your choice. You could also have cushion underneath the knees. So just adjust yourself for comfort, and you can stay here and breathe. Now this is a nice one to turn your head. I'm not going to, but you can. This is a really nice one to turn your head in. Turn the head to the left if you want to go ahead and do that. So at this stage, we're moving the twist further up the body towards the waist. Chest is opening up, and you really need to feel your left shoulder is either on the ground or heading in that direction. So sometimes if the shoulder is just slightly floating off the ground, as you breathe and relax and soften, you may just find that it starts to unwind, tension starts to drop away, and that shoulder sinks more and more towards the ground. So it's worth keeping in mind that shoulders floating, tightness in the upper body could be a product of tightness in the shoulders or sore upper back, or it could be tightness in the chest. So particularly people who work out a lot, do a lot of upper body strength training, press ups, weights, that sort of thing. It's really common for the chest to become very tight. So these twists are really good for releasing chest muscles, which is important for good spinal health. It's important for breathing, good posture, feeling tall, upright. It's about balance. So quite normal to maybe feel a little pulling around the armpits. If you do find that the pull around the armpits is a bit too strong, you can turn your palms down or bring the arms closer in towards the body. Just breathing into the exposed side of the body. A lot of space for breathing in this twist. And when you're ready, on an inhale, gently and carefully draw the knees back up to center. Have to be a little careful because when you've had some time in a twist, you sort of settle in and you don't realize it can be quite a lot of effort to bring those knees back up. They're heavy, legs are heavy. Back to center. When you're ready, on an exhale, take the legs over in the other direction, and remember, it won't necessarily be the same. When you get there, you can tuck cushions wherever you want them, or you can loosen up the legs if that feels better for you. So just work to what suits you. We're building. We are layering up, working our way up the spine. So while you're lying here, scanning through, looking for muscles sort of stayed switched on, you can pay attention to this nice spiral line running through the body. So the knees are over to the left. All the way from that left corner, you've got a spiral that's running up the body from the left hip across the waist and all the way across to the right shoulder. So this is a lovely spiral line. You can almost see the seam of my t-shirt is moving across my body. Beautiful, really, really beautiful. Notice if one side is easier than the other. Second side can be easier just because it's the second one. But most people I've noticed have a side that feels tighter, or perhaps the movement is more restricted. If you have scoliosis, then you may find that there's a side where you can't go so high up. It depends on the nature of your scoliosis. So always respect the shape of your spine. So, you know, if you are a person with scoliosis in your spine, that is the shape of your natural spine. So you work with it. It's not broken. It's not damaged. There's nothing wrong with it. That is the shape of your spine, and it's your job to get to know your spine and what feels good. And on your short side, you work much more gently. You follow your physiotherapist's instructions and you don't try and force it long. You soften the twists and the side bends on that side. That's how I work. You can do more on the other side if you want to, or you can have 2 rounds on your short side. So you would go long side, short side, long side, short side, and just see if your short side has freed up a little bit. So it's really about sensation rather than trying to even things out, because there is nothing wrong with your spine. It just has a lovely moon-shaped curve in it, and that is okay. You work with it. Okay, so when you're ready, let's bring those knees back up to center. So the next one, a little bit more abdominal strength needed for this. I find that most people really enjoy going into this one. So I'm going to bring the knees in towards the chest. I'm going to tuck them in. Tuck them in as tightly as you comfortably can. Doesn't have to be very tight at all. You might find that your feet are away if you need more space. That's okay. And we're going to use the hands to help us get into this, but you don't have to. You can actually do this very comfortably just with abdominal strength. But today I'm going to show you with just a little bit of support from the hands. So we're going to the right. Let's turn the left palm down, so nice and anchored. Take your right hand to the outside of your left thigh. As you exhale, pull your navel inwards, just gently switch on your abdomen and lower both sets of knees over to the right. So in quite a high, tight little twist here. As soon as you go over, if you've managed to go over, you might just need to loosen up the legs just to make a bit more space, and that's okay. It's still a deep stretch. Check that your left shoulder is on the ground or making its way down there. If you're comfortable in this higher, tighter stretch, you can stay right here. And I do recommend that everybody takes at least 3 breaths here, and you can stay in this position, but I will give you options to layer up, which you might have seen in some of my other videos. So there are options of intensifying this and making it into something slightly different. But the twist itself is beautiful and it's enough. So we're drawing, as you can see, we're drawing this twist even higher up into the body. So we're really up in the waist now. There is some work happening in the hips, but it's mostly up in the waist, and the chest is starting to really open up. So if your shoulders are tight, you might start to notice that these are the ones that are a bit more challenging and you would prefer to loosen up and go back and revisit one of the earlier twists. And that is always fine. And I recommend that you do that, because after this series, this set of twists, I'm going to give you an option that will be easier to get into and give you all the benefits as well for your shoulders. Okay, so if you are someone who wants to layer up, add into this twist, you can extend your top leg. You might just extend the top leg, that might be enough. Or you might take hold of your big toe and really draw that leg up. So that's option, layer number one. If that feels good, you can stay there. You're going to get quite a nice stretch, possibly into the glute, which might be nice if you have sciatica, potentially along the back of the leg and the IT band as well. If you want to really get into the hip opening movement, you can pick up your bottom foot with your back hand. So you've got to bring that left hand over, take hold of your right toe and draw the right leg around the body. Try and get a good grip on that big toe. So now you're holding on to both of your big toes, opposite toes in opposite hands. It's a much deeper sensation in the hips, this one. I really, really love this twist. It's very stress releasing. But you might just find that you've lost the thing that you enjoyed about the first variation. So if that's you, go back to the variation that felt good. You can always do this one another time, particularly if you're having quite a stressful time, or you're very fatigued, or, you know, just in a bit of a grump, you've got some tension in the body. This one, cat pulling its own tail, or cat pulling its tail, is a really nice way of releasing some of that tension. So you've got to breathe. You've got the whole of the left side of your body is exposed and free. The chest should be fairly free. So you've got plenty of space to breathe into. You can close your eyes. You can take your focus in towards the sensation in your body and really let it go. All of the twists, all of the stretches, the more you can imagine, you can use the powers of visualization. Just imagine all the tension pouring off your body into the ground, and the ground can have it. And so in my yoga, I used to say years ago in my yoga classes that people have the option to leave their baggage at the door, and whether they choose to take it away with them later is entirely up to them. And this is what we're doing here. We're pouring our baggage into the floor as best we can. Doesn't always work. So if you've gone into cat pulling its tail, we're going to untangle the way we went in. So you just got to release that bottom foot, bring it back into the twist position, release the top foot back into the twist position. And then you have two options. So you can walk your feet round to center and bring your knees back into your chest. That's the safest, most stable option for people with any lower back stability. Or if you like a little bit of something for your abdomen, you can scoop your belly in and just slowly lift, lift, lift all the way back to center. If you need a rock and roll, go ahead and take one. Then again, you can use your hands to support your way down. Or if you enjoyed that little bit of abdominal control, you can exhale, pull your belly in quite firmly and roll those knees quite controlled over to the other side. So try not to let them flop, because if you move too quickly, then it doesn't give your body a chance to adjust into the position. And there you go. Here we are, other side. All good. Remember, you can loosen this up. You can do one of the other twists if it felt better for you, because the next variation is going to give you all of the benefits of this twist, but from a different position, and you will like it. If you want to layer up those variations, you can extend the top leg, hook your fingers around your big toe. You can just see my fingers around the big toe there. If that feels okay, you might want to pick up your bottom big toe, your right big toe in your left hand, and draw it round into this beautiful twist. And just notice there shouldn't be any pain or discomfort in any twist. Just breathe and breathe. And just a reminder that just because you did this variation on the one side, it doesn't necessarily mean that you will do the full variation on the other side. You might just do the leg, you might do neither. When I say the leg, I mean the top leg. So we're just going to breathe here. See if you can let go. Have a little scan through for those type A control freak muscles that will just stay switched on unless you give them permission to switch off. So Thighs is the main one, glutes, feet, although in this position, probably you're quite aware of your feet. Face, jaw, shoulders, arms, especially if your arms are out wide, you can have a check that your hands are relaxed, that your arms are relaxed, shoulders really softening down. In this position, it's harder to get into the shoulders, but the chest is definitely opening up. You can soften your belly, let it be big and soft. Soften your waist, because this is what we're working on. When you're wringing the body out, when you're wringing tension out of the body, you need to let it be soft so that that tension can pour away. Be kind to yourself, enjoy this. And of course, if you're familiar with all of these and you're counting your breaths, you can have even numbers of breaths on each side, but if you have a tighter side, then you might want more breaths on that side, or you might want to go back and revisit and do them again, because the second time around with most of these movements feels significantly more lovely than the first time round. So when you're ready, we can untangle the way we went in, if you're in this variation. So untangle the leg first, bottom leg, then stack the top leg, then you can walk your feet all the way around. So we're all just going to walk the feet all the way around to center. Just check in, see how you feel. You are likely to feel some kind of, you know, some of that strong sensation of release you get when you've been in quite a tight position and then you've let it all go and the blood circulation starts to come back. So if you do need a rock and roll, knees to chest, you can. We're going to roll onto our side we're going to bring this right up into the shoulders now. So if you lie on your side, so you can use a cushion for this, but you do not have to. It's very much a question of choice. I prefer to do it without, because I find that the head lolling down towards the floor is actually quite a nice weight to get into the shoulders. So we lie on our sides with the knees bent at right angles and the feet together. First thing we're going to do is make sure the shoulders are nicely stacked, and then scooch the bottom arm as far forward as it can possibly go. So we're just going to do these little thoracic rolls on the barrel of the rib cage on the floor. So the focus here is very much about the rib cage on the floor and the shoulder blade that is scooching forward. So you can just see my hand flat on the floor there. The other hand is sort of near the wrist because I've scooched quite far forward. This top hand does nothing. You can just let it rest. And all we're going to do is inhale to roll the body forward, the knees stay together. Exhale to roll the upper body back, and you can twist that back as far as you want and just keep rolling, inhaling forward. So you're massaging out your rib cage, you should be able to feel that. Also, your shoulder blade, your upper back, and your thoracic spine. You're getting a little bit of movement in there. So this top arm can be lazy. Just rest it on your hip somewhere. Don't do anything with it really. And you can do as many of these as you want. If you have a very knotty shoulder blade, if you're a person who carries your tension here, up above, on the sides of the chest, around the rib cage and around the shoulder blades, then this is going to be really good for you. And you might even be able to feel the knots clicking against the floor. That's weird, but quite a satisfying sensation. And as you roll and massage out the side of your body, you may find that that twist when you roll back starts to get bigger and bigger. So my shoulder is almost on the ground and it was floating off the first time around. So I'm going to do one more, as many as you want. Choose however many you need for the side that you're on. And then come back to center. So I have a series of movements that I sometimes do lying on my side here, but we're just going to do one. Scooch back to center so that your shoulders are stacked, palms together. My head is floating off the floor now. I don't need it to float off the floor. I'm going to put my head back on its cushion. And on an inhale, take your top arm up and exhale to roll it all the way over behind you. Keep the knees together. That back shoulder, the left shoulder, might be floating off the ground. Mine is at the moment. But if you rest here and breathe, little by little, you will find that the chest opens more and more. In fact, I'm going to remove this. That's better. There we go. And just shuffle it around, and there we go. So if you've got your head on a cushion, you might find that it keeps the shoulder up. And we breathe, and if you want to, you can turn your head. Again, it's optional. This one in particular, turning the head, can be quite nice. The higher up the spine you take your twists, the more benefit there is to turning the head. So this is a thoracic twist. Our twist is all quite high up in the thoracic section of the spine. You can look it up. It's sort of between the shoulder blades, behind the connecting section of the rib cage. And this is all about breathing, opening up the chest, relaxing that back shoulder. And once in a while, this has happened to me once in a while, if there's a lot of tension in your back shoulder, if you lie here and breathe for long enough, you might just get a moment where it suddenly releases in a really beautiful way. It's like some very tough muscle just goes, and lets you go. And it's a really lovely feeling. And you might even notice the feeling of the shoulder softening down into the ground. It's amazing when that happens. It doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. And breathe. And you only ever turn your head in these twists if your neck feels comfortable. So you always have the option to keep the head in line with the chest or gazing up. I recommend eyes closed for all of this work because it's very internal sensation. Breathing into the exposed side of the body. Enjoying the feeling of lying around on the floor. And you can stay here for absolutely ages. Anybody who knows me knows that I love twists and side bends, and I would keep you here all day. You can do that in your own time. You don't need to do it with me. So on an exhale, we can bring the hands back together and take it over to the other side, or just roll over. So if I were you, I would just roll over. I'm me, so I'm going to switch sides. Roll over, lie down on your other side, knees together in an L shape. Keep those knees more or less pinned together. Hands together to start with, just see how that feels. If it's possible for you, scooch the bottom arm forward, as far forward as it'll go, and then rolling. So inhale forward, exhale to roll back. Try and keep the knees more or less locked. I'm just going to put my hand on my hip. It's much easier. And it's massaging out the rib cage. Remember, it's the shoulder blade, the rib cage. And this is my knotty side. So you can probably see my mobility is not so good on this side, but I don't mind because it always feels amazing. It feels really good to massage out a knotty shoulder. And you could carry on with this movement if you found that this one was really doing you some favors. And I can feel my knots clicking against the floor, but they have reduced a lot from doing this sort of work regularly. So if you're interested in yoga, if you've noticed a lot of yoga resources online, or have friends, family who practice regularly, if you don't practice yourself, you might have noticed that a lot of regular yoga practitioners, especially teachers, regardless of size or shape or anything like that, tend to have a particular physique in the upper body, broad shoulders, open chest, kind of almost like a coat hanger. This is part of what helps it to happen. It's releasing or opening up the chest muscles, releasing tension and getting a nice strong back, and trying to take tension away from the shoulders and strengthen up instead. So strengthening muscles whilst also prioritizing relieving tension from those muscles when you've finished. So when you're ready, you can restack your shoulders, your arms. If you want a cushion for this, you can. You noticed I took it away on the other side, so I'm going to leave it out on this side as well. And inhale and draw the top arm up, and exhale to take it over into your thoracic twist. And if you want to, I like to shuffle deeper into this, but you might not want to. It's fine. Just notice how high off the ground that back shoulder is, probably your right shoulder. Might be your left shoulder. Just notice, back shoulder, how much is it floating off the floor? See if you can relax, breathe into the exposed side of the body. Again, you can notice that spiral that runs through the body, but it's quite tight now. So the shape of that spiral is more like an S shape now. The section of the spine that's mostly working here is your thoracic spine. And the thoracic spine joints, the way the brackets work, they like to twist. Not a huge amount, a little bit. The lower back doesn't really twist. It has a little bit of give, but it mostly goes back and forth. Thoracic spine likes to twist. So you can have a little Google of that and you'll be able to see some really nice diagrams and maybe even some videos of that happening. Again, you can turn your head if it feels good. It does work quite well turning the head in these thoracic twists much higher up, but only if your neck is okay with it. Never force the head round, never force the neck to do anything ever. Breathe. Remember, we're letting tension pour off the body. So just check for the last few breaths. Is there anything that's holding on that you can let go of? Any muscles that you could just relax? This stuff. And on an inhale, you can gently take the arm up and over, back together. The top hand on the floor, and wind yourself up to a seated position. And we'll just finish off seated. Grab a cushion to sit on if you want. You could leave that there. If you've finished, you can go about your day. If you're feeling good, you can go and do your stuff, whatever you want to do. But we'll just finish off with a seated twist and a side bend. So it's a nice sort of little bow on the top of the whole package. So put the hands down by the sides to start with. So I'm sitting cross-legged. You can really be in any seated position, but I like cross legs. It's cold in here, so I'm just rearranging myself so my hands are less cold. Okay, let's inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, let's take the right hand across the left thigh. Left hand just tucks up behind you and exhale to twist to the left. And you don't have to push very hard, just as far as you're going to go. It's not a huge twist. Turn your head if you want to, but you do not have to. So I'm just going to leave my head more or less in line with my chest for this one. So you could do this sitting on your knees. You could do it sitting on your bum with your knees bent in front of you and the legs out wide, feet flat on the floor. You could do it with your legs stretched out. There's lots, any seated variation would work for this twist. Just remember to breathe. Inhale to grow tall, exhale to relax. And then when you're ready, on an inhale, let's come back to center, sweep the arms up. So the reason I always sweep the arms up is because it lengthens out the waist. Exhale, left hand across the right thigh, right hand behind, twist to the left. Other way around, left hand to the thigh, right hand behind, twist to the right. It's a bit confusing sometimes. Lefts and rights. Don't forget to breathe. So inhale, grow tall. Exhale, relax. Maybe you turn your head on one side and you don't on the other side. It's your choice. And when you're ready, you're going to inhale to center and a side bend. So hands down by the sides, in line with the hip. Take the right arm up. Exhale to slide over to the left. You don't have to go as far as I've gone, but you do want to keep your left hip down. Extend. So if you want to really go deep, work a little harder, extend your arm quite firmly so the fingertips are really reaching for that wall over on the left. And the reach comes from the body, not from the arm sockets. There's no point pulling your arm out of its socket. You want that feeling of extension coming from the waist, pulling down towards the hip, rooted to the ground, and pulling up towards the armpit. Chest nice and open. If you want to keep it softer, you can relax the arm. You can even turn the palm upwards and rest the hand on your head, or the back of the head is quite nice. It just depends on what your vibe is today. Feels good. When you're ready, inhale slowly up. We're going over to the other side. Inhale, reach the left arm up, and exhale to draw across, or just to wherever you get to. Remember, you kind of want to keep the left side down as much as possible. It's always good to remember you want to keep your side, the side that you're extending, down as much as you can, but sometimes it's nice to rock over and have something to lean on. So you could have a block under your arm or your hand. I just figure as long as I can feel that sensation of reach, it's fine. Lengthening on the side of the body. And remember, you can reach away, or you can relax. Whatever suits. Don't forget to breathe. Inhale to reach up again. Come back to center. A little bit of a back bend, so fingertips just on the floor behind you. Roll the shoulders back with the chest, and if you want to, you can also lift the hips. So you do sort of need to be either kneeling or cross-legged for this. You could do it with your legs in boat pose position. Exhale down. Fingertips in front, and this is the last one. Exhale to walk the hands forward. Try and keep your spine nice and long and your hips drawing back. Think of the movement as coming forward from the chest and the chin. You don't have to go as far as I've gone. This is about getting a nice stretch through the inner groin, thighs, inner thighs, groin, and just soften down. So just different for different people. If you find that you are prone to gluing your hands to the floor and trying to pull yourself down, turn your palms upwards and you will be able to resist that a little bit more easily. So just get to where you get to. As long as you can feel the hips doing a bit of a stretch, this really, again, tends to work best in a wide leg seated position. So you can have your legs out wide, sitting with your bum on the floor, or in these cross-leg positions, or in butterfly pose, making a diamond with your legs, and then you reach forward that way. You can even hug your toes if you do it like that. So when you're ready, you can inhale, walk the hands back in. Let's finish it off. Let's seal this little practice with the hands down by the sides, palms facing forward. Let's inhale to reach up. And exhale, hands to the heart. And you're all wrung out, ready to go. I hope that feels good. Have a lovely day. Enjoy a little bit more of a stress-free remainder of your day. See you later.